Welcome to the Institute of Self-Worth, a curriculum for life designed to teach principles of self-worth. Let's join Pastor Vic Porter as he shares on Reflections of Glory.
Jesus looked at him and he said, Peter, he said, you don't even know what you're talking about. He said, before the cock will crow, he said, you'll deny me 3 times. Now, here's something that's really interesting. We take everything based on chapters. And we say, now Jesus is talking about Peter here. And then in chapter 14, he's changing subjects again. Take the chapters out of it. It's still referring to this that Jesus was talking to Peter about. Chapter 14 is still referring to chapter 13. Now look at this. Verse number 38. Wilt thou lay down thy life for me, for my sake? He said, verily, verily, I say unto you, the cock shall not crow till thou hast denied me 3 times. Let not your heart be troubled, Peter. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. And whither I go, ye know, and the way ye know. Now see, let's look at this in context. A lot of times we think that Jesus is changing subjects. He corrects Peter, and then he changes subjects and goes off talking about heaven. That's not the way it is. It's all connected. Here's Vic's translation of the last few verses of chapter 13 and the first few verses of chapter 14. It goes like this. Peter's saying, Lord, I am so spiritual. My life is so much better than all these other disciples. I'm willing to lay my life down for you. Why can't I go with you? And these other guys, they're not going to go with you because they can't handle the pressure, Lord, but I can. And Jesus looks at him and he said, Peter, you really going to lay your life down for me? He said, I tell you what. He said, you mark this down. Before the cock will crow, he said, you're going to deny me. You will have denied me 3 times. Peter's sitting there thinking, that can't be. That can't be. And Jesus is basically saying, Peter, you're just like a leaf blowing in the wind. You're up one day and down the next. Wherever the wind blows, that's where you go. You can't stand on your own 2 feet. You have to be moved with the crowd. But he said, don't worry, Peter. He said, even if you don't have it all put together, or let me say it another way, especially, or because you don't have it all put together. I use Vic's statements on some of these things. You're all messed up, Peter. You're a Christian. You believe in me. Thank God. But your soulish man is so unstable. He said, you don't know whether you're coming or going. He said, but don't worry. I believe in you. And I'm going to say, Jesus was probably the only one that believed in Peter. Now listen, there may be some of you out there listening to me right now, that there's not very many people that believe in you. Well, let me tell you something. Jesus believes in you. If there's nobody else believes in you, he does. And basically what he was saying, he said, Peter, he said, I know this didn't come out the way you wanted it to. I know you wanted to go with me, and I know that you think that you could stand the pressure. He says, but you can't. He said, but don't let your heart be troubled. You believe in God, and you also believe in me. And he said, I'm going back to heaven, and I'm going to build you a mansion. Peter, even though you're a leaf blowing in the wind, I have your future taken care of. Now, you know what, folks? There's a lot of people are like Peter. Their lives are blowing in the wind. They're up one minute and down the next. And All you have to do is go to churches to find that out. And what you'll find is that you'll find people that are in and out. They're here a little bit and then gone. You'll find people that want to be super spiritual, and they won't allow the Spirit of God to change their life, to change their heart. And they're Christians, and they will be the first to tell you, I'm going to heaven. But they're out there trying to do it right, and they don't give anybody else a life because they're sitting around judging everybody else. And they're worried about whether they're going to do it right. And if they don't do it right, it's generally because somebody else did it wrong. And they never enjoy life. They're so wrapped up in themselves. And if you'll remember, I've said this from day one, this is not about you. It's about Jesus. But this is for you, but it's not about you. But every time that you point your finger and accuse and excuse other people and yourself, you're making this about you, and it's not. And that's what Peter was saying. He said, I'm not like all these other people. I will come and give my life for you. And Jesus said, you have no idea what you're talking about. He said, Peter, but don't worry. He said, none of these other people even like being around you. You're too obnoxious. But he said, I believe in you. I care about you. He said, I care about you so much. He said, I've built you a mansion. This is the character of God. This is what will change your heart. It's not the writing down, I saw you did that, or this. A gentleman told a friend of mine one time, he's sitting out in his office with his feet propped up on his desk, studying. I'm convinced that he started studying when he knew the guy was coming out to his office. But he said, this guy standing at his desk with his feet propped up, books laying on his desk and one in his lap, asked this guy, he said, how many hours a day do you pray? Of course, the guy sitting down prayed much more than that. Does that make him more spiritual? You know what the real truth is about that guy? He split more churches than you can count on. You know why? Because he's a leaf blowing in the wind. He doesn't like to be around me because I am too loose, according to him. I just want to have fun in the ministry. If you take this stuff too serious, it'll drive you crazy. Life is fun. Enjoy it. Jesus paid the price for you and I. I'm not encouraging you to go do wrong things. Don't do that. But I'm encouraging you to rest in the one that saved you and made you his righteousness. Rest in his ability, not yours. And you will enjoy life. You can't enjoy life by having to be the policeman of everybody around you. Let them be. Yeah, but what if they do it wrong? What are you going to do about it? Listen, until you see God's view and opinion of yourself, you're not going to relax. But until you see that, you can't see God's view and opinion of other people, and you won't relax there either. Because you'll be too busy trying to put out all the fires and trying to make everybody do it right. And they're just not going to do it. People's hunger level differs. It's different than others. Some people, in their mind, I don't need God right now. Everything's going pretty smooth. Other people are desperate for God. And other people have learned, I need God every day in the good times and the bad. That's the person that's going to get a hold of the message of grace. That's the person that's going to understand God's view and opinion of them. Amen. Get a hold of this. This is so powerful. Now let's look at another scripture. Hebrews chapter 13. Hebrews chapter 13 and verse number 5, I believe it is. The character, we're talking about the character of God. Let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content with such things as you have. For he hath said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. You know what the Greek says here? The Greek says, I will never, 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 never leave you, nor will I never, 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 never forsake you. I'll never leave you. I'll never forsake you. God is in this for the long haul. You may not be, but He is. He is standing right beside you. He doesn't want you to do the wrong things, but He wants you to look at Him and to see His view and opinion of you. And when you see that, instead of running from God, you will run to God. He will never leave you. He will never forsake you. You are valuable and precious to Him. Do you know why you're valuable and precious to God? Because His Son invested everything that He had in you, warts and all. Jesus paid the price with His own blood for you before you ever did it right or wrong. And if Jesus, God's Son, did that, then God is going to stand behind Jesus at any cost. They have a covenant with each other. See, this covenant is not between you and God. It's between God and His Son, Jesus. And Hebrews says that those are two immutable things or unmovable. They will never, never, never change. God's covenant with you is through Jesus. And if Jesus has given His life for you, then God stands right beside Him and He will give His for you too. My Father believes in you. You can't even begin to put a wedge between you and your Father. And the reason that you can't is because Jesus holds on to you so tight. There's no separation. That's God's character. That's what He believes about you. He believes in you. He sees you the same way that He sees His Son, valuable and precious. Now go over to John chapter 21. John chapter 21. And let's look at let's look at starting with verse number 15. We'll start there. We're talking about the character of God. Verse number 15 of chapter 21 of John, it says, So when they had dined, Jesus said unto Simon Peter, Simon, son of Jonah, lovest thou me more than these? And he saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, Then feed my lambs. He saith unto him again the second time, Simon, son of Jonah, lovest thou me? He saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, Feed my sheep. He saith unto him a third time, Simon, son of Jonah, lovest thou me? Peter was grieved because he saith unto him a third time, Lovest thou me? And he said unto him, Lord, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee. Jesus said unto him, Then feed my sheep.
Thank you for joining Pastor Vic Porter today. For more information on the Institute of Self-Worth, please visit our website at www.instituteofselfworth.com. May God's richest blessings be yours.